Hi, my name's Brian. Welcome to my model railroad. The railroad that you're looking at is built in a 12-foot by 12-foot shed that I built out on the side of our house. It's hooked up to the home power. It's fully insulated, no windows, carpeting on the floor, pretty comfortable room. I've been working on this layout for about 10 years or so, and I modeled the Southern Pacific Railroad in about the 1980s, give or take, 5 years either way. I like to run kind of different stuff. It's the double track main line that runs from Oakland, California up to Reno, Nevada. And I kind of loosely modeled that. I picked a few places that are interesting, from a modeling standpoint, and that's what I built. So as you can see, a lot of it's under construction, still a lot of work to do. So let's take a look at it in a little bit of detail. We'll make the rounds of the track. So this is the beginning and the end of the railroad. It's on the second deck, and it's basically a visible staging yard, and it represents both Oakland and Reno. So you make a full loop of the track. You start in Oakland and you end up in Reno, or vice versa. Right now it's 4 tracks, and it's going to expand out to 6 or maybe 8. Haven't decided yet. And from here it goes down to the end, goes through a crossover, double crossover, and then heads down into a 7-turn helix. If I had that to do again, I think I would do it differently. It's a lot of track out of sight, and maintenance is kind of a pain in the ass. This will be the Oakland engine terminal. At some point I haven't put the track or anything in yet. And this is the helix on the inside. This is the Oakland helix. I built this all separate outside the room in the garage. Used acrylic parts. I had them all made, like 100 or something like that, acrylic pieces, and then glued them all together. And spaced them out all correct measurement. There's 2 inches between each helix loop, and it just goes up about 2% or so. And from the helix, we'd be coming down here and coming into what's basically Berkeley in Berkeley, California. And this will be a kind of a heavier industry zone where there'll be a lot of bigger manufacturing and factories. This is an old gas storage tank. Used to be in Oakland. I remember seeing it when I was a kid. It's long gone now. There'll be some businesses back along the backdrop here. The backdrop's not in yet. I actually have a photo backdrop. I just haven't had a chance to mount it. So there's pretty good switching opportunities through this area. A lot of different sidings, different buildings, and different customers for the railroad. So this is going through, again, Berkeley, and then it kind of comes out, which is Emeryville. It would be down at this end. You can start to see the new backdrop that's actually in. That's a picture of the Oakland Hills. They actually sell that pre-made, and it goes together in a few pieces. So it's been a challenge to actually get it mounted and do it properly. So as you come out of Emeryville, you actually head up and you parallel both the bay and then later the Cardenas Straits. You're right along the water. It's a really pretty ride, actually. You can take the Capitol Corridor from anywhere in the East Bay, Oakland or Emeryville, and take it up to Sacramento. It's a really fun ride. And it goes past some of these areas. There's a lot of refineries out in Richmond, and this is a little town called Rodeo, where there's some refineries out there. And so I built that, modeled that. You start seeing the hills. It's pretty steep in there between the water and actually the mountains. That's Mount Diablo in the back here. My dad's girlfriend, Beth, painted that for me. Actually, I kind of custom did it. She did a really nice job on it. I like how that came out. You're still seeing all the refineries going through there, and there's just a lot of storage tanks that I have to finish up. And then down at the bottom where the tracks are running is actually the river, the San Joaquin River and Sacramento River come together to form the Cardenas Strait. So that'll be made up water and mud and kind of tules and stuff there eventually. And after you pass through that area of refineries, you're still going along the same river, the channel there. And you come to the big C&H, California and Hawaiian Sugar Company, is in Crockett, California. This is a real place. This building is kind of loosely modeled after it. It looks very similar to that. It's a really, really big complex. And this is a real interesting structure. It's where they store sugar beets before they get processed in the factory. So that's been all custom made. I built it out of a big PVC pipe and then put corrugated plastic over it, painted it, and did all the windows. So I still have a lot of girders and stuff to put in around and underneath it where it's all supported, and that'll look really cool when that's all done. So from there, we're leaving Crockett, and you'd head out into the kind of Delta country. It's one of our favorite places. We go up there boating a lot and hang out. It's real warm inland and pretty, a lot of water, a lot of rivers. So it's a different backdrop you're picking up here coming along. And this is actually a bridge. It's on the Burlington Northern main line out to Stockton. And it's a single track bridge, but this model is modeled after that bridge double track, and it's not a real Southern Pacific bridge, but it really looked cool. So I'm real pleased with how that turned out. It doesn't work. That would have been too much, effort and hassle, but it really, I think, came out pretty nice. And eventually, in the water under the bridge that you can obviously see isn't done yet, I'm hoping to put in a boat and a water skier. We used to water ski a ton up in these areas, and maybe another boat on the beach. A couple of the boats I've had in the past, and see if I can actually model them and put them in there. I thought that would be pretty cool. And from there, you kind of leave Delta country. You're still in the San Joaquin Valley, and you're actually headed out into a lot of flat farmland, ultimately heading into Davis. This is a little town of Dixon. It's along the way, kind of along Highway 80. You can see the backdrop in the back, and it picks up pretty good, looks pretty good. It's actually a backdrop of that area, but again, I had trouble mounting it, so I may redo that. And just some, like a grain storage kind of place here, an aqueduct where water would flow through to the various irrigation. And then we come into Davis. In the back there, in that open area, will be the Davis Station. It's a really cool old 1930s, like Spanish style arches, and really neat looking. So I'm going to custom make all that. Got pictures and measurements. And this is Hibbert Lumber, is in the town of Davis. And it's a pretty big customer there, right in downtown, as a matter of fact. And then this is the town of Davis. These aren't necessarily the buildings that'll be there, but they're representative of the town of Davis, what will be there. And then here you can kind of see it breaks out into what would be a big dog bone. So on either end, this is another helix. You're headed up into another helix to get you back up to the second level of the railroad. Another 8-turn, it's a little bit more, and I'll show you why in a sec. But anyhow, you can make a loop at either end, so you don't have to go up the helix. You can actually turn trains around or just run a lot more of them quickly on the lower level. So, and that was also, I built that first so I could actually run trains before I had all the upper level done. So at this point, we would have come up that helix again, and this helix is a little bit taller. It's one loop more than the other one, so I wanted to get one extra loop so I could bring it outside. So there's that, instead of a circle, it's more of an oval on the top loop, and it comes out what will be the Truckee River. So the big mountain in the back, and then you can see the line there. It's actually removable, so I can get in there and work on the helix and stuff when needed. So this will all be, trees and ground cover, and I've got some rock covering to go over that white spot there, the retaining wall, and then river and stuff will go in. So that'll all be part of the High Sierras. And this is on the other side of that same shot. It's just coming around the loop and comes out what's Snowshed 10 up in the High Sierras. Backdrop, again, bought. It's a photo backdrop and then mounted to that plastic. This bridge is one that I custom made. It's the Butte Bridge. It's a real bridge up there in that area of the Sierras, up in the High Sierras, where the SP runs. And a long time ago, my son and I, Kyle, went up there and checked it out and took a bunch of pictures and stuff and watched actually some trains go over it. It's a real pretty spot. So ultimately, a lot of pine trees and ground cover and stuff. So there, we're moving down through the Sierras. This is a downgrade, coming down into a couple tunnels. You've got Butte Mountain. It's a big mountain kind of near those snow sheds and that bridge. Might redo that. I'm kind of reconsidering that, but at the moment, that's the way it is. You got a couple of tunnels leading into that loop. And then you come out on the other side of that mountain, and here is Truckee. So it's a small town up in the Sierras. At this point, you'd start being on the downgrade going into Reno and Sparks on the main line, double track still. But it's a neat little town up in the High Sierras. Gets a lot of snow, a lot of little shops and restaurants and stuff, antique stores. So that'll be the town of Truckee. You'll come into there. This is also the other end of the staging yard. So remember when we started in Oakland, it was the beginning of the railroad, and then the end was Reno. So you come through Truckee, and there'll be a backdrop here I haven't put in yet that'll kind of separate those two scenes. And that backdrop, once you go through it, you'll be in Reno, the other end of Reno. So it's just a lot of storage tracks basically up there, but a little bit of decoration around it so that it looks a little bit better. So with that, we'll run some trains and you can check things out while they're all going.